Vítám vás u dalšího dílu Let's Playe adventury Broken Sword. Co se dělo? Uvidíte, když se kouknete na předchozí díly, moc to rekapitulovat nebudem. Američan George Stobart, za kterýho hrajem, který se rozhodl pro turistické cestování po Evropě, se zastavil v Paříži a hned tady se mu seběhla souhra událostí, která ho málem stála i život, a je to i důvod, proč tedy teď všetečně se snaží přijít na kloup věci, která se odehrála a který se nedobrovolně stal svědkem. My jsme z minulého dílu už víme, že se celý náš příběh točí kolem templářů a kolem možná pravděpodobně jejich dávno zapomenutému pokladu. My každopádně jdeme do nemocnice a máme vlastně ještě jedno místo, a to je sice bývalý templářský popraviště tady ve Francii, o kterém se nám Lobinos zmínil. Tam se vydáme taky, ale teď jdeme do nemocnice, kde má údajně...
The old building managed to retain some of its original grandeur, but the modern additions look like a baseball cap on a statue of a medieval saint.
Kde má údajně ležet někdo, kdo se stal taky obětí Kána, ale ne naštěstí takovou, aby to nepřežil. Mohl by nám nést hodně světla do našeho pátrání.
There was no sign of the crew of the ambulance. I felt a little guilty as I tried the door, like I was about to rob a grave. I gripped the handle with an involuntary tremble in my hand and pulled. The door was locked. The young man's face was full of eagerness and enthusiasm. I figured he was fresh from college. Hi, my name's George Stobart.
Pleased to meet you, sir.
Call me George if you like.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's my name.
My name's Benoit, but everyone calls me Bunny.
Bunny?
That's right. I used to have this cute habit when I was a kid.
Keep it to yourself, Benoit. Do you know anything about a patient named Marquet?
No, sir, I don't know much about any of the patients.
I've never met a doctor who admits that he's only human.
I'm only a trainee, sir. I'm sure I'll get the hang of things.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, monsieur. I've never seen him before.
See you later.
Right.
The young man's face was full of eagerness. Hey, Benoit!
There's no need to shout. What do you want?
Does this false nose mean anything to you?
No, it doesn't.
Does this gem mean anything to you?
Not me, sir.
Have you ever heard of a guy named Merlin?
No, sir.
What does this tool suggest to you?
Isn't that used to snap the patient's ribs when exploring the abdomen?
I hope not. Have you ever heard of the Club Alamet?
No, sir.
Do you know what this white powder is?
No, sir.
What does this tissue mean to you?
Is that a nasal discharge, sir?
No, it's grease paint. Shake my hand, Benoit.
I don't think that's a good idea, sir.
How come?
Dermatitis.
I don't have dermatitis.
I do.
No.
See you later.
Right.
Proč mi ten ťumpas zastoupí
The woman managed to look overworked and hassled, though she didn't appear to be doing anything. Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Is this the Hagenmeyer Clinic?
That's correct.
I thought I was in a garden center.
Oh, the plans. They were my idea. A little greenery to evoke the spirit of nature. How may I help you?
Has Marquet had a visit from a pair of gangsters?
I should hope not. Can you describe them?
A thin guy who looks like a weasel and his friend, the gorilla.
Sounds as if they escaped from the zoo.
I'm here to see Jacques Marquet.
Oh, yes. Are you related to our client, sir?
No, I'm conducting a private investigation.
Then I can't help you.
Ale no tak.
So, do I get to see Marquet before the funeral?
That attitude will get you nowhere. My instructions were quite clear. No one gets to see Marquet. So unless you can prove you're a relative or a close acquaintance, you're wasting your time here.
Has Marquet been visited by a man in a clown costume?
Oh, no.
You haven't seen a man in disguise?
Well, there's Theodore the bear. He comes every Thursday to entertain the children. Personally, I think he scares them half to death in that crummy old bear suit. If I was stuck on my back with tubes in every orifice, he's the last person I'd want to see.
What does this false nose remind you of?
Oh, it's a clown's nose.
That's right.
Why don't you give me a break and go and play with someone else?
Have you seen this man here at the clinic?
No, sir. And I never forget a face.
What does this gem suggest to you?
I advise you not to flash that around. The hospital insurance wouldn't cover it if it was stolen.
Look at this ID pass.
So you're Merlin. Marquet's been asking for you.
For me?
Yes. He was shouting your name when they brought him in here. Now, let me see. He was on ward B12, as I recall. Oh, he's being transferred to... Oh, dear. He's on ward J2. That's... Nurse Grendel's ward.
No, co to jako znamená?
What's so bad about Nurse Grendel?
She runs that ward like a South American prison.
Keeping a well-disciplined ward isn't a crime, is it?
Well disciplined. In the discipline and punishment stakes, she'd whip the butt off the Marquis de Sade. Everything, I mean everything, is done to a strict routine. 6 o'clock alarm call, 6:10 bowel movements, and woe betide anyone who doesn't have a result. Those patients of hers are like Pavlova's dogs.
She sounds like a real nightmare.
And then some.
If Nurse Grendel is that bad, how come the authorities tolerate her?
She's like part of the furniture.
Oh, you mean she's been here a long time?
No, I mean there's not a man in this clinic who hasn't sprawled out on her.
I was beginning to get the picture. This woman was jealous, with a big green capital J. How do I find Nurse Grendel's ward?
Down the corridor on the left, turn right at the senior consultant's washroom. Right again at the executive coffee lounge. Bear left past the administrator's sauna. And turn left at the end. That's J2. And good luck.
What does this tool suggest to you?
Is it a crack detector?
Huh?
Polar explorers use them to poke about in the snow.
No. Have you heard of the Club Alamet?
No. It sounds romantic, doesn't it? The kind of place where you get little umbrellas and whelks.
Huh? That's romantic? Is this plaster any use to you?
I'm allergic to plaster.
Can you think of any use for this greasy tissue?
I guess you could use it to baste a roast turkey.
I'd like to shake you by the hand.
Don't be fresh, young man.
Thanks for your help, ma'am.
You're welcome.
As I turned the corner, I saw the source of the hellish noise which echoed through the corridors. It was an industrial polishing machine with an odd-looking guy in tow. He looked blissfully happy, for no apparent reason. Hello.
What's that?
I said hello.
Oh, hiya.
I'd like to talk to you for a minute.
That's what I thought you said. Don't look so down in the mouth. No matter how bad things seem, I never let life get on top of me.
Oh, yeah? What's your secret?
Why, it's easy. All you have to do is smile and whistle this little tune.
You know what? If you start whistling, I'll bust you in the teeth.
It's a deal.
Do you know where I'd find a patient called Marquet?
No, I'm not allowed on the wards with Mr. Shiny.
Would Mr. Shiny be your polishing machine by any chance?
Please, don't call him that. He's more of a friend than a machine. I've had Mr. Shiny for 3 years and he's never let me down once.
How come you got so attached to a polishing machine?
I asked you not to call him that. He's got a name, you know.
Yeah, Mr. Shiny. It's just that...
You think it's odd, don't you?
No,
I don't mind. The rest of the staff think I'm twisted. I heard them snorking behind me back when I gave Mr. Shiny his weekly pull through.
Whatever you've got with this metal mopfoot is probably a fine and noble thing.
It is. Say, it's not every day I meet someone as crazy as me.
Do you know a nurse called Grendel?
Sure I do.
Is she on duty today?
Yeah, end of the corridor, ward J2.
Have you seen any unsavory characters lurking about in the corridors?
No, sir, I haven't. But I've got nothing to worry about. What's that, Mr. Shiny? You'd take good care of the rascals, I'll bet you would. With a friend like him, I've no fear of oppressors.
It must be a great comfort.
He is.
Take a look at this red nose.
Are you a policeman?
No, this is a clown's nose, not a policeman's. Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
Who is it?
That's what I'm asking you. Have you seen him before?
How should I know? You haven't told me who he is.
Take a look at the photo.
Yeah, okay.
Now, have you seen him before?
No.
What do you think of this, Sam?
Oh boy. What is it?
A priceless gemstone, found in a medieval castle in Ireland. Get me into Marquet's ward, and it's yours.
I don't wear jewellery.
If this gem was yours, you'd be able to buy 100 Mr. Shinies.
Don't be silly. There's only one Mr. Shiny.
Don't you want this gem?
I'm quite happy without it, thanks.
Don't you want...
I'm...
Do you recognize this pass?
No, I don't. Should I?
No, but I wondered if you'd seen a stranger flashing it about.
No, sir. But if I had, Mr. Shiny would take care of him.
Would this tool be any use to you?
No, sir. Mr. Shiny has no user-serviceable parts. Whatever that means.
Do you recognize this matchbook?
You should never, ever play with matches.
I know that, but...
People get hurt when they do.
Sure.
They end up in hospital, like the burger lady. She was so burned up, they didn't know whether to use bandages or onions.
Do you recognize this powder?
Is that dandruff?
No way.
It sure looks like dandruff.
It's plaster.
Ugh!
What does this tissue suggest to you?
You have a cold. What you need is vitamin C. and a side order of machine oil.
Would you like to shake my hand?
Not until I've washed, if you don't mind, sir. You can pick up all kinds of things in a hospital.
Like nurses, right?
No, sir. Bugs and germs. And fungal infections.
See you later.
Yeah, take care now.
The door didn't have a sign or label or any kind of identification.
Hey now, you can't go in there.
How come?
I'm responsible for the contents of that cupboard.
Takže sklad. OK.
It was a life-sized marble figure of a guy in robes. The sculptor had tried to give him a look of paternal authority and concern. To my mind, he looked just plain constipated. There was no way I could improve on the sculpture with the janitor watching me. I guess the water cooler was for the use of people lost in the corridors. Maybe the face of the unaccountably happy domestic had made me unduly suspicious. I mean, I knew it was only my imagination, but the water tasted, well, peculiar.
Oui, monsieur.
Is this Ward J2?
It is, but you're not supposed to be here. We have strict rules about visiting hours.
Can't you make an exception? I've come all the way from California.
You must speak to the doctor.
I can't wait that long. What if he snuffs it?
You can't talk like that here. This is a hospital. You will have to leave.
Do you have a patient named Marquet on this ward?
Oui, monsieur. He is in the private room at the end of the ward. He has been placed in strict isolation.
You can tell me how my brother is, can't you?
Of course, monsieur. What is his name?
Jacques Marquet.
Let me see. He's satisfactory.
I was told he was dying.
Well, he is, but the doctor described his condition as satisfactory. That's quite an improvement on yesterday.
Do you know who paid for Marquet's room?
No, of course I don't.
Preferential treatment like that must cost an arm and a leg.
That's not my concern, monsieur.
Do you have any clowns on the ward?
Why, yes, we do. A professional clown.
I'll bet he lightens the place up.
Hardly. Monsieur Boissy has been in a coma for the last 3 months.
What's wrong with Boissy?
He was involved in a very nasty accident. A silly stunt involving a unicycle. His current condition is due to post-traumatic shock. It's unlikely he'll ever perform as a clown again.
It's an ill wind that blows nobody any good. Do you recognize this red nose?
Oh dear, I don't think he'll be needing that again.
Who?
Monsieur Boissy, the comatose clown.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, I don't.
Does this gem mean anything to you?
It's beautiful, but I've never seen it before.
Do you know Merlin of Gruber Electronics?
No, I don't.
Does this tool mean anything to you?
I don't recognize it.
Does this mean anything to you?
The Club Alamut? I've never heard of it.
Is this plaster any use to you?
No, it isn't.
Do you recognize this tissue?
No, I don't. It looks like a chronic health risk to me.
Well, I've been carrying it around for days, and I'm okay. My pocket's getting a little soggy. Would you like to shake hands with me?
Well,
No, it's okay. Forget it. I didn't really want to use it on her anyway. Thank you, nurse.
you may come back at visiting time, monsieur.
Thanks. When is that?
The second Tuesday of each month.
Tak oddělení jsme našli. A jinak je to teda, koukám, bludiště.
As I tugged the plug out of the socket, the polishing machine coughed, spluttered, and died.
Mr. Shiny, what's wrong, pal?
Dr. Stobart at your service. Hey, Benoit!
Yes, sir?
Do you know the nurse on Ward J2?
No, monsieur. This is my first day here. I can't wait to get my hands dirty. I was talking about treating my first patient, of course. I didn't mean I'd get my hands dirty with a nurse.
See you later.
Right.
The young man's face was full of eagerness and enthusiasm. The guy seemed to be practicing his air of authority. Today, he was working on his withering stare. Hi, my name's George Stobart.
Aha! Just the man. You must be the new boy.
Yeah, I must be.
Well, stop wandering about and make yourself useful. Bernie, come here, boy. This is Benoit, my nephew. Can I trust you to look after him?
Do your own babysitting, Gramps. Who do you think you are, anyhow?
I am Felix Hagenmeyer.
And may I say what an honor it is to meet you in person, sir. You are on my medical wall of fame. Right up there with Pasteur and Leary. I look on it as a privilege, no, an honor, to look after your nephew, sir.
He is fresh out of medical school. It will open his eyes to see a real doctor on the job.
I'll bet.
Show him around. Let him see some real suffering.
Do you recognize this red nose, sir?
No, I do not. This is a hospital, not a circus ring. We minister to the sick in body, not the sick in mind.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, sir, I do not.
Look at this, Doc. It's a genuine medieval type gemstone.
Yes, so I see. Remarkable.
Does the name Thomas Merlin mean anything to you?
No, It does not.
Does this tool mean anything to you?
Sacre bleu! That's exactly what I needed in my last operation.
It is?
I had to improvise with a knitting needle and a couple of corks. If only you'd been on hand at the time. My patient would have given his right arm for it.
Have you ever heard of the Club Alamat?
No, sir, I have not.
Does this white powder mean anything to you?
No, sir, I do not pretend to know the pharmacist's job.
What do you make of this tissue, sir?
Intéressant. I thought I knew the ins and outs of the human body, but this has me beat. If I were you, I'd have this sample analyzed.
May I have the honor of shaking you by the hand?
You may not. I don't encourage physical contact between my staff.
So long, Hagenmeyer. Excuse me.
Yes, sir?
Oh, it doesn't matter. Hey, Benoit.
There's no need to shout. What do you want?
Forget it.
No, budeme si tady hrát na doktora. Vypadá to, že Benoit teď bude chodit všude s náma. A budeme muset nějak zpracovat tu sestřičku.
Good afternoon, doctor.
Oh, hi. Is this Ward J2?
Yes, sir. The patients are ready for your inspection, doctor.
Thank you, nurse. Well, who's first?
Monsieur Croquet in bed 2.
What's his problem?
He's been complaining of loss of consciousness. You'll need this, doctor.
She gave me a long, narrow metal box and a stunning smile. Thanks. Hi, I'm Dr. Stobart.
Hello, Doctor.
The nurse told me you keep losing consciousness.
That's right. I've had the problem as long as I can remember. It's a real out-of-body experience. Like death, but not so conclusive.
I see. How long does it last?
Just a fraction of a second, and then I recover.
I might not have been a doctor, but I was formulating a diagnosis all the same. This guy was nuts. I know exactly what you mean. It's known in the medical field as blinking.
Is it serious?
Of course it isn't serious. It's perfectly natural.
But just think, 2 seconds every minute. Why, that's almost half an hour every day. 2 weeks out of every year spent in total darkness.
I don't have time to listen to this baloney. Which bed is Marquet in?
He's round the corner, in solitary.
What's the matter with him?
I don't know, but the men who brought him in were wearing masks and rubber gloves. Hey, you're a doctor. How come you don't know?
We doctors don't know everything.
Then how come you act like you do?
Has Marquet had any visitors?
Nah, neither have I. That's the worst thing about being in hospital. You feel like the rest of the world has abandoned you.
Well, you know how it is. Life goes on.
Thanks for those comforting words.
Do you recognize this red nose?
Nah, I don't.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
Nah, Doctor. Who is it?
A cold-blooded killer.
One of your colleagues?
No, he really is a murderer.
I've never seen him before.
Does this gem mean anything to you?
No, Doctor.
Have you heard of a guy called Merlin?
No, Doctor.
Do you know what this tool is used for?
Eye surgery.
That's a dumb thing to say. It's not sharp enough. Have you ever heard of the Club Alamut?
Nah, I haven't.
Do you know what this is?
Is it self-raising flour?
No. Do you know what this piece of equipment is called?
No, I don't.
Have you any idea what this is?
Please, take it away before I throw up.
Well, goodbye and good luck.
Thanks, Doc.
Nějak jsem si rozmyslel, že bych mu dal šok.
According to the chart, this guy was called Croquet. The graph, it kind of shook me to see this guy's life. The graph showed a steady decline in his pulse rate and an increase in his blood pressure. It kind of shook me to see this guy's life reduced to a few jagged lines. The poor guy's temperature had been up and down like a white knuckle ride. No wonder he looked so sick. The name on the chart was Boissy. Now, I was no doctor, but this guy looked dead to me.
Doctor,
What is it?
you haven't taken my blood pressure.
Seems fine to me.
You're not doing it right.
Of course I am.
No, you're not. Dr. Monroe never did it like that.
I can't take a satisfactory reading while you're excited like this. I'll come back later. The name on the chart was Sopmarsh. His temperature was normal, with little fluctuation either way. This guy didn't look sick to me. He didn't have spots or stitches, and he certainly didn't have a fever. Hello? Anybody home?
Who are you?
My name is Dr. Stobart, and I'm here to steer you down the rocky road to recovery.
Dr. Monroe said there was no cure for what I've got.
Your problem is you stayed in bed too long.
Are you sure you're a qualified doctor?
You better believe it. What's your impression of Nurse Grendel?
She's a very efficient young woman.
Efficient? You make her sound like a vacuum cleaner.
I've no complaints.
The woman in reception described Nurse Grendel as a monster.
Well, that's simply not true. She's quite strict, but that's her job, isn't it? You've got to have discipline in a place like this.
What can you tell me about Marquet?
He's the man in the private room, isn't he? That room was mine before I was tossed out like a common squatter.
Do you know what's wrong with Marquet?
They won't even say what's wrong with me. Tell me, Doctor, what's your opinion?
It's too early to say.
But I've been here for 3 months.
Do you recognize this red nose?
Doesn't that belong to Boissy?
No, I found it in a sewer.
He's a clown, you know. You wouldn't think so to look at him now, would you?
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, Doctor. Who is it?
A cold-blooded killer.
Really? He's a dead ringer for my bank manager. Of course, Mr. Soames hasn't got a scar, and he doesn't come from the Middle East. His hair's a lot grayer, too. Otherwise, it's just like him.
Remarkable. Does this gem mean anything to you?
No, Doctor. Is this some kind of test?
If it was, you would have failed. Have you heard of a guy called Merlin?
No, Doctor.
Do you know what this tool is used for?
I'd rather not, Doctor. Ignorance is bliss, as they say.
Have you ever heard of the Club Alamut?
I'm not really a nightclub man, Doctor. A game of whist and a glass of ginger wine is about my limit.
Do you know what this is?
It looks like plaster.
How did you know that?
I'm a plasterer.
I'm going to take your blood pressure.
Why?
I'm a doctor. It's my job. Have you any idea what this is?
No, Doctor. I wouldn't even like to guess.
See you later. It was a life-sized marble figure of a guy in robes. The sculptor had tried to give him a look of paternal authority and concern. To my mind, he looked just plain constipated.
To takhle bude George komentovat všechny sochy. Zajímavé.
Oh, Doctor.
What now?
You didn't finish taking my blood pressure.
Tak tohle bude špatný, ale máme tady praktikanta. Tak to možná nějak zkusíme zaonačit s ním.
You don't have the first idea what you're doing, do you?
I'll come back when you've recovered your manners. Hey, Benoit!
Yes, sir?
Here, take this pressure gauge.
Thank you, sir. What do you want me to do with it?
Well, keep it safe until I think of something. Are you ready with that pressure gauge?
Primed and ready to pump, sir. What do you want me to do with it?
Use it on Eric Sopmarsh.
Okay.
He sat like a statue of a sack of potatoes, but the cop's eyes were as watchful as a hawk's. I'm Dr. Stobart.
Bonjour, docteur.
Have you heard of a guy called Marquet?
He's in quarantine, doc, right behind this here door.
Marquet is just the man I wanted to see.
I wouldn't go in there if I was you. He has anthrax.
I have to visit my patient.
What for?
Routine. I have to check he's still breathing.
What if he's not?
I'll sign the certificate and register his bed as vacant.
That's a cold and distant attitude to death.
Well, I've been institutionalized to the point of godlike aloofness.
The white coat suits you.
Thanks. Have you seen any suspicious characters on the ward?
Yeah, I have.
A gorilla and a weasel?
No, this was a tatty old bear.
How was the bear acting suspiciously?
Well,
He was wearing a homburg.
Is that against the law?
No, but it's pretty weird for a bear.
Don't you think it's possible that the bear was a man in disguise?
Well, obviously, I'm not completely stupid. But who would go to the bother of disguising himself as a bear? It's not as if he'd blend in with the surroundings. I checked with base to see if any bears had been reported missing from the zoo or a traveling circus. They told me to sit tight until reinforcements arrive. I guess they're right. I'd be stupid to tackle a bear single-handed.
Do you recognize this red nose?
Don't get cute with me.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, I have never seen him before.
Do you recognize this gem?
It isn't an emerald, is it?
Yeah, I think so. Thanks. Are you Thomas Merlin of Gruber Electronics?
No.
Then you won't be needing this. What do you think this tool is used for?
Branding mice without bending down.
Have you ever heard of the Club Alamet?
No. It sounds Middle Eastern.
Can you think of any sensible use for this plaster?
Sensible? No. Puerile? Yes. But you've probably thought of those already.
What does this tissue suggest to you?
It looks as if it has been used to wipe Satan's bottom.
I hate to say it, but you could be right. Catch you later, officer.
Au revoir, Doc. If you see that bear, kick him in the nuts. Rather you than me, pal.
Marquet?
Yes, I am Marquet. I've been expecting you.
You have?
Well, what are you waiting for? Get it over with.
I just want to know what I should do with the gem.
The Lachmar gem.
Yeah, right here in my pocket.
I thought you were one of the assassin.
Not me. I never inhaled.
So, you were sent in my place?
Yeah. You could hardly make the trip to Ireland in your condition. What should I do with the gem?
Deliver it to the Grandmaster quickly. Tell him that I have found the tripod right here in Paris.
What, you have it?
Not yet, but it's being taken care of. I hired a couple of stooges with a flair for petty crime.
Would that be Flap and Guido by any chance?
You know them?
We've met. What about the Hashashin?
Is more likely to have followed Klausner. He'll stop at nothing to prevent the reforging of the sword.
And that's bad, is it?
As for Klausner, he is gone off to Syria on a wild goose chase.
They have geese in Syria?
He has a theory about the location of
That's enough excitement for one day, Monsieur Marquet. What are you doing here?
Talking to this patient, of course.
Monsieur Marquet is my patient. If Herr Hagenmeyer was to hear that...
Okay, I'm going. I'd learned all I could from Marquet anyhow.
Ah, there you are, sir. I was just coming to look for you. I finished with your pressure gauge.
Thanks, Bunny.
What's that noise? It sounds as if someone's having a cardiac arrest.
It's all right. The doctor's in there with him.
Are you sure he was a doctor?
Oui, monsieur. He showed me his ID. It was Dr. Braille.
There's no Dr. Braille working here.
He's an imposter. The door's locked. Help me, officer.
Stand back, monsieur.
I found Jacques Marquet.
Did he talk?
Yeah, he talked. For the very last time.
He's dead.
Yeah, killed in cold blood by a bogus doctor.
That's despicable. What kind of guy would pass himself off as a doctor and take advantage of a dying man? Was it Khan?
No, I don't know who he was, but it certainly wasn't Khan. He got away, out the window. Have you ever heard of the Hashi-Ashin?
No.
Marquet said that they were his biggest enemy.
His biggest enemy was the bogus doctor.
Don't remind me. That guy was evil. He had wild, staring eyes like a dead fish. I'll never trust a doctor again. Do you think the assassin was responsible for killing Marquet?
I don't think so. He could have finished him off the first time. Besides, Marquet would have recognized him.
He was pumped to the gills with sedatives. He wouldn't have recognized the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse unless they'd introduced themselves. Can you think of any use for this?
That's a thing for measuring blood pressure, isn't it? What are you doing with that?
I picked it up in the hospital. It could be useful.
You ought to take it back. Don't you feel guilty?
No. I guess I'd better go back and talk to that weirdo.
Which one, Rosso or Sergeant Mou? Oh, were you referring to Andre?
I'll let you work it out.
No. V nemocnici se nám to možná až tak úplně nepovedlo. Ale víme něco o nějakých hašašínech. Víme taky o tom, že z muzea mají Flap a Guido ukrást trojnožku, která je z nějakého důvodu důležitá a samozřejmě bude důležitá nejspíš i kvůli tomu drahokamu. Budeme se podívat teda do toho muzea ještě.
You have left it very late, monsieur.
Late for what?
Anything? I am closing the museum soon. You wouldn't like to get locked in. I can tell you. Not in this gallery.
Why not?
It is haunted, monsieur.
You don't believe in ghosts, surely.
Oh, yes, I do. 7 years ago, a lad managed to hide in here. He made a bet with his friends, I suppose. When I found him in the morning, he was cold as ice and stiff as a board.
Well, what was the cause of death?
They said it was a brain tumor. But on his face was a look of stark, desperate terror such as I have never seen before.
Scary. What can you tell me about the collection of pottery?
Those are remains of pots used by the original inhabitants of Paris. The Paris pot people.
When did they move out?
15,000 years ago, monsieur. Vanished in the mists of time. Didn't even have time to pack up their pots.
I thought the original inhabitants of Paris were a tribe known as the Parisi.
That is right, monsieur. Renowned for their pots. You see, in those days, people didn't have much in the way of possessions. A few flints, some animal skins, maybe the odd bone or two. Naturally, when the Parisi came along with their pots, why, everybody wanted one.
I guess they must have caused a kind of consumer frenzy.
Ah oui, they connect the market, cleaned up.
No, poněkud vzdělaný hlídač na to, jak se na začátku tvářil.
You don't know the first thing about those pots, do you?
No, monsieur.
What can you tell me about the collection of coins?
A rare example of silver coinage from the reign of Philippe le Bel. That little old lay buried for centuries in a field on the outskirts of Paris. They're unique. Nothing like them has been found anywhere else in Europe.
What can you tell me about the collection of coins?
A rare example of silver coinage from the reign of Philippe le Bel. That little old lay buried for centuries in a field on the... They're unique. Nothing like them has been found.
What can you tell me?
A rare example... That... They're unique.
The sign on the tripod says it was found at a Templar preceptory.
It does?
You don't know anything about the tripod, do you?
No, I don't. I never had much of a start in life, you see. I owe what little education I gained to my uncle. He was an optician, but he also doubled as the village school teacher. He taught me the alphabet. Well, 19 letters of it. The bottom row of the chart was too small even for him to read, so he left them out.
Why don't you start over and enroll for adult education?
You know, I never thought of that. Do you think if I studied art and did all my homework, I could be a professor of history?
At your age? Dream on. Can you give me any further information about the tripod?
Certainly, monsieur. It's infamous. That tripod, that belonged to John Dee.
What's the importance of John Dee's tripod?
Dee was the most famous escapologist of the 16th century, the Houdini of his time.
Don't you mean alchemist? Escapologists use ropes, chains, and handcuffs, not tripods.
Well, whatever he was, that is the tripod he used in his experiments.
What kind of experiments did John Dee perform with his tripod?
Oh, the usual. Didn't you study chemistry at school?
Yeah, but we skipped over thaumatology. Can I take a closer look at the tripod?
What? Get it out of the case? Ah, no! That tripod is protected by a sophisticated surveillance system.
How sophisticated?
A painfully loud alarm bell.
How is the alarm bell triggered?
By the slightest pressure on or movement of any part of the case wherein that tripod is situated.
It strikes me that to call your alarm system sophisticated is, well, stretching the truth a little.
It has never failed yet. The sophistication is in its simplicity.
What can you tell me about the collection?
That little... Yeah, you...
Že pořád jako nemizí téma těch mincí.
Thanks for your help.
Ale za chvíli budou zavírat.
Hi, André. Hello, Georgie. Have you ever heard of the Hashashin?
Why, yes, it was a radical Muslim sect whose name became synonymous with murder. It was formed in 11th century Persia, shortly before the Crusades.
At roughly the same time as the Templars.
Yes, they gave a new word to our language, Assassini, the assassins.
How did the assassins get their name?
From the legend surrounding the secrets of their initiation rites. A young man who sought to join the sect was given hashish until he drifted into dreams. He awoke to find himself in a fabulous garden with everything he could wish for. The freshest water, the most delicious food, the choicest hash, and the most delectable women imaginable.
Cool. Do you have the address?
I haven't finished the story. There was a price to pay for this taste of paradise.
Wouldn't you just know it?
The young man would wake the next day to find himself back in the real world. He was told that he'd been given a glimpse of the heaven reserved for holy martyrs. A heaven he would enjoy for eternity if he was willing to join the Hashashin.
How did the assassins operate?
Well, as I explained, the new recruits would be only too willing to die for the cause. They'd be instructed in the use of the dagger, poisons, and disguise. Then the Grand Master of the sect would name an enemy of Allah.
And they'd stop at nothing to eliminate that enemy.
You got it. They were fearless and deadly.
Does the cult of the assassins still exist?
Take a look around at the world today. You tell me.
I think you ought to know that the tripod is going to be stolen.
The Lochman tripod? No.
It's true. I can give you a description of the thieves.
Before the supposed event has taken place?
I heard them planning the raid.
They're wasting their time. The tripod is protected by a state-of-the-art alarm system.
Well, don't say I didn't warn you. Why don't you loan the tripod to me for safekeeping?
Because I'd never see it again.
Well, don't you trust me?
It's not a question of trust, George. That tripod is hundreds of years old and extremely fragile.
I get your point. Thanks for your help, Andre.
You're welcome.
Don't open it! Remember, the burning cattle! Don't even think of climbing. You'll be suffering.
I always wondered how it felt to be a mummy.
No. Tak necháme muzeum muzeem. Sice budou brzo zavírat, ale snad se sem ještě dostanem. Doufám, že se při našem návratu nepřihodí nic blbýho, nebo třeba už ta trojnožka nezmizí. Ještě furt se dá jít k té kavárně. A nebyli jsme na tom místě těch poprav.
I once read a list of low-stress jobs. It didn't include police work. Obviously, this guy hadn't read the same list. A typically Parisian sidewalk cafe. Last time I visited one of those, it blew up. I decided I was happy enough right where I was. An architectural echo of the gallows that once used to stand here. An ornate fountain stood in one corner of the square. I'd have to come by here in the summer to see it working. There was no water to frolic about in, and the leaf mold that was collecting there just wasn't the same somehow. Fixed to the wall was a sign in 3 languages. In French, English, and German it read, "In 1312, Pope Clement V dissolved the Knightly Order of the Templars and excommunicated its members on charges of heresy. In the following 2 years, many of the knights were hanged on this site. Their Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, was burnt at the stake on an island in the Seine." In the middle of the square was a manhole. I wondered if there might be something relevant beneath street level. I couldn't open it with my bare hands.
No jasně, my máme ještě otvírač kanálu, ale taky je tady ten policajt. Zkusíme si s ním popovídat.
Excuse me, officer.
And how may I help you?
What do you know about the Knights Templar?
Les Templiers. Only that they were excommunicated in 1312 and hanged in their dozens within this very square.
Boy, what they teach in the police academy these days.
No, monsieur. I read it on that board over there.
Shouldn't you be off directing traffic or something?
You have seen the Parisian traffic, no?
Yeah, so?
I could direct the traffic. The most dangerous, the east side of Rome. Or I can sit here and enjoy the sun, the architecture, and the Sauvignon. Which would you choose?
Yeah, but I'm not a policeman. What happened to duty?
An excellent question, monsieur.
Does this red nose mean anything to you?
Aha! A prosthetic nose. Very significant.
It is?
No, I am just having a little joke.
Have you seen this man before?
No. Who is it?
I believe him to be an international assassin.
Oh.
Is that all you can say? Oh.
I did wonder if I should say that I believe you to be an international paranoiac, but it didn't seem polite.
Look at this gem. What do you think?
Cut glass.
No, it's not. It's for real.
What kind of madman would go around waving a priceless gem under people's noses?
So either it's glass or I'm mad? I didn't like to think about that for too long. Take a look at this.
Ah, an electrician. My TV has been acting up. Could you fix it?
I doubt it. This isn't my ID. Do you know what this is?
It's a sewer key.
Does it mean anything to you?
Do you belong to some obscure arm of the Masons?
Does this matchbook mean anything to you?
The pattern looks Middle Eastern. Beyond that, who knows?
Do you know what this is?
Aha! You Americans with your notorious nose candy. I read Hollywood Wives. I know all about it.
If you tried to sniff this stuff, you'd wall up your nostrils. It's plaster of Paris.
It is? Thank heaven. For one awful moment, I thought I might actually have to arrest somebody. Alors, the paperwork. You have no idea.
What do you think of this?
A blood pressure sleeve.
Don't you want to know why I'm carrying it?
No! That would be dangerously similar to making inquiries. I might get a reputation for taking my job seriously.
What do you make of this grease paint stained tissue?
Delightful. Would you like to see some of my used tissues?
Hell no!
Then please put yours away.
Would you like to shake... I stopped myself barely in time. Electrocuting a cop would not have been smart. They'd rebuild the Bastille just so they could throw me in and throw away the key. I'll see you around.
Oui, monsieur. I'll be there.
Oh.
A knight's tomb, his effigy in marble lying in perpetual state, waiting in prayer for the judgment day. A knight there in the company of his fellows. Biblical references engraved into the tomb edge to guide his way to the next world, I guess. A stone knight lay on the church floor. Just think, there's a dead guy under there. The second stone knight in a row of 4 lay on the church floor. I was surprised Philip le Bel had left this place alone. A huge stained glass window formed a magnificent centerpiece for its neighbors. I didn't recognize the biblical story in it. I was a Sunday school dropout. I didn't recognize. A stone knight lay in full stone armor, blank eyes looking at the ceiling. Carrying all that armor around must have been hard work. A stone knight lay at the end of a row of 4. I wondered if this guy had died in combat. An enormous window. In comparison to its neighbor, it looked pretty plain. A statue of a knight holding a staff and a scroll. The statue had any secrets. It was concealing them pretty well. A huge arched window. Somehow it looked more modern than its neighbor. A row of old pews, beautifully carved and glowing with polish. I thought of all the people who must have sat here over the decades. All those Parisian derrieres, firm buttocks of the young ladies, the flabby flesh of the old men. That wasn't a pleasing image, so I went back to the young ladies. Whoa! I didn't have time to sit around.
No, něco mi říká, že s tou katedrálou ještě něco bude. Musíme otevřít ten kanál, ale myslím si, že policajt bude proti.
Hey! Hey you! What do you think you are doing? Leave that cover alone! Now!
Sorry, no harm intended.
You stay away from that!
Hello again, officer.
Hello again, monsieur.
I'll see you around.
Oui, monsieur. I'll be there.
Tak nevím, jak se ho zbavit. Každopádně tady ještě nejsme hotoví. To byl teda Mount Fashion. Muzeum jsme navštívili. K Nicole ještě nepůjdeme. Ještě nám zbývá policie, ale já se zastavím ještě tady u té kavárny. Jestli náhodou tady taky nebude něco. Ale nevypadá to. Kopáče fuč. Pochybuju, že budeme brát další nářadí.
The toolbox didn't contain anything else I needed. Hello again.
Yes, Inspector.
I have to be going.
Good luck, Inspector. I hope you catch that killer soon.
Excuse me.
What do you want now?
Have you ever heard of the Hashashin, Sergeant?
What was that?
The cult of the assassins.
What are you trying to say, Stobart?
That the clown is a member of that cult.
I see. And what proof do you have?
Proof? I arrived at my conclusion through logical deduction and...
Pseudo-intellectual people. Leave the investigation of crime to those who know best. The police.
No jo, a policie se na to přece vyprdla,
Is
ne?
Rosso here?
Yes, he is. You wish to speak to him?
Yes, I do.
One moment, monsieur. Stobart is here to see you, monsieur.
Did he say what it was about?
No, monsieur.
Very well. What now, monsieur?
No asi nic. Drahokam mu prostě z
It doesn't
nějakého...
matter.
Doesn't matter? You call me from my desk and you say it doesn't matter? I could have you arrested for wasting police time.
I'm sorry.
Z nějakého důvodu se mi nechce mu ukazovat ten drahokam. Z nějakého důvodu mi začíná být inspektor poněkud nesympatický a podezřelej. Tak co s tím muzeem? Budeme muset něco vyšpekulovat tady, když už se bude brzo zavírat. Tak, to tady bude mít nějaký háček.
Pardon me.
Oui, monsieur?
What can you tell me about the collection of coins?
A rare example of silver coinage that little unique.
Thanks for your help. Pardon me.
Oui, monsieur?
Would you like to shake my hand?
Not while I'm on duty, monsieur.
Thanks for your help. The statue didn't deserve to be mauled by a Philistine like me.
Now, what did I tell you about touching the exhibits?
Was it you can touch all you want so long as your hands are clean?
Not quite, monsieur. It was do not touch, not ever!
Oh yeah, that was it. There was no obvious way into the building. Hi.
Hello, George.
Labino explained who the Hashashin were.
Yeah?
The cult of the assassins.
Oh, boy.
To je všechno? Víc mi k tomu neřekneš?
I have to go.
Okay. Good luck.
No tak máme trošku dilema, co s tím teď budeme vyvádět. S tou hrou. Protože úplně nevím.
Oh, hi.
Hello, my handsome friend.
Have you seen anyone out here watching Mademoiselle Collar's apartment?
Yes, I have. A strange man, tall and thin as a broomstick. He kept his face hidden, but I saw his eyes peering from evil little slits.
How was he dressed?
A long brown raincoat with a hat.
Or like Humphrey Bogart?
Yes, but he didn't have Bogart's charisma. Besides, this guy looked like he needed a toilet. You never saw Bogart clenching his buttocks like that.
See you later.
That's right, monsieur. You will.
Někdo Niko sleduje? Nebyl to náhodou náš Lobino? Trošku ten popis chatrné postavy by na to odpovídal.
Hi.
Musíme se jí na to zeptat, nebo jí to aspoň říct.
Hello, George.
A něco mi říká, že to je Lobino.
I have to go.
Okay.
Protože tomu jsme řekli adresu. A co si budem? Zdá se, že za Niko ještě nešel. Takže ještě se vrátíme do muzea a zkusíme se ho zeptat.
Hi, André. Hello, Georgie. Thanks for your help, André.
You're welcome.
Takže bychom to třeba museli říct na policii, nebo tomu strážníkovi. A ten strážník nedává moc smysl. Ten místo, aby pracoval, tak chce spíš jako baštit a chlastat. Takže ten je asi venku ze hry. Humon Fashon. Takže bych to viděl, že se zkusíme přece jenom zastavit na tu policii. A teď možná komisaře už hodně naserem, jestli to nebude...
Excuse me.
What do you want now?
Jestli to...
Is Rosso here?
Yes, he is. You wish to speak to him?
Yes, I do.
One moment, monsieur.
Jestli to nebude plodný, nebo jestli nakonec tady nebude žádný téma.
It's Stobart, monsieur. He insists on talking to you again.
Thank you, Moo.
Trošku se bojím, teda. Co z toho vyleze teď?
What now, monsieur?
Není to žádný téma, co s tím?
Did I show you this photograph?
Oui? You're still convinced he is the killer?
Absolutely. So long, Inspector.
Tak dobrá. Považoval jsem za důležitý, abych se ho aspoň na něco zeptal. Z Paříže se momentálně nikam vycestovat nedá. No pořád si myslím, že budeme muset tady v muzeu něco provést, protože trojnožka je v ohrožení. Do hotelu Ubu se taky nedá jít, abych si tam nějak třeba počíhal nebo se podíval, jestli ty dva kriminálníci, kteří se sem chystají na vykradačku, jestli tam ještě jsou. Budeme na to muset přijít a budeme na to muset přijít v dalším dílu Let's Playe adventury Broken Sword, kde se nám věci dávají trošku do pohybu. Umřel někdo další, kdo se nachomejtl k tomu, že snad něco věděl o tajemství templářů, o asasínech a podobně. Stále se s námi ještě Lobino nebyl podívat na pergamen, což mě taky trošku irituje a hlavně teď budeme muset teda tu trojnožku zachránit před krádeží. A máme tajemný kanál, který je přímo na náměstí, kde se ve 13. století, nebo ve 12. vlastně, nechali, kde král nechal zlikvidovat všechny templáře, tak pod tímhle náměstím je nějaká stoka, která bude nejspíš dost důležitá, ale sedí tam policajt, kterýho se budeme muset taky nějak zbavit. Takže je toho dost a v dalších dílech to snad nějak rozlouskneme.